Thank you very much for the whole Air Convention team for having us here in that conversation about how aircraft modifications can support airlines during the challenging crisis. Before we really start with our panel discussion, I'd like to introduce all the participants. Starting by myself, my name is Nicole Noack. I am working as the Managing Director for the Independent Aircraft Modifier Alliance for now 1 year. And before I have a history in aircraft modification, base maintenance, mainly with Lufthansa Technik, that is all I have to say about myself. So when we go to the Independent Aircraft Modifier Alliance, you might ask yourself, who is that? We are a non-profit association based in Hamburg, having meanwhile 9 members from the aviation industry, and we advocate for trustworthy STC. We have several goals, and amongst others, one of our goals indeed is to create a recognized standard throughout the whole value chain of a modification project. So that is why I'm so honored to host this session today and to really dig into the opportunities of retrofit modifications. I'd like to hand over to our first panelist here, Chris Marcoux. Chris, may I give it to you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Nicole, and thanks for inviting me to this. I'm Chris Marcoux. I'm the head of operational cost management at IATA. I'm the focal point for IATA's work on airline technical operations, matters related to MROs, aircraft leasing, and also we do a lot of cost benchmarking activities in the areas of tech ops, of maintenance. We have some projects on that we call digital aircraft operations and operational data programs. And before that, I worked for Delta Tech Ops in Atlanta, and I was in a university working as a professor. And regarding about IATA, most of you are aware we represent a huge body of the airlines around the world. 290 airlines are our members. 82% of the worldwide airline industry. Our mission is to represent, lead, and serve the industry. And you may have known of IATA because of our safety audits. You may have heard of IOSA. In order to be a member, you need to pass that audit, and in addition, another more than 100 airlines are taking the IOSA audit on when is needed. We develop guidance materials, training. We accredit travel agents, develop codes. We do data analysis and economic forecasts. And finally, we are a clearinghouse that we settle between the airlines and other industry stakeholders, travel agents, car rentals, and so forth. And you can find more about us in our website. And with this, I will pass to our next panelist, please.
Thank you, Chris. It's an honor to have you. And let us hand over to Jeff.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. Good day to all, and thank you for inviting me to participate. My name is Jeff Luedeke, and I'm the Managing Director at Tronos Aviation Consulting. I've been working in this wonderful industry for 30 years now, and it continues to be exciting and present challenges for us all, to say the least. The majority of my experience centers around the cabin interior, products and services related to cabin and passenger environment. This includes product development, manufacturing, program management, reconfiguration activities, and aircraft modifications. Next slide, please. At TAC, we specialize in interior forecasting, strategy, interior reconfiguration development, and management of those programs, as well as asset management. 5 years ago, we developed our first forecast that takes a unique look at both retrofit and new aircraft demand for interior products. Annually, we perform a holistic update, taking into consideration new products that have entered the market, as well as market trends. We utilize this data and our expertise to assist our clients with specialized market outlook for things like forecasting product demand, market entry for new products, and strategy around growth and development. We also work directly with airlines to assist them in selecting fleet types, cabin configurations in those fleets, products and services, selections that align with their missions, as well as competitive assessment on current and future routes, and ROI analysis on acquisitions and reconfiguration activities. So again, thank you very much. I'm happy to participate and look forward to the discussion today.
Thank you, Jeff. It's indeed an honor to have you and your interesting standpoint between the interface between airlines and industry. With this, let us send over to Jeroen from Fokker Services, and please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Jeroen Moeker, and thank you, Nicole, for having me here on this air conservation panel today. My experience goes back about 15 years, where I started in the aviation industry. I graduated from aerospace engineering studies with a master's degree in TU Delft. So I started in 2007 at Fokker Services, and I started working as an aerodynamicist and as a lead engineer. One of the nice programs I've been working on as a conceptual, but as well as a lead engineer and later project engineer, is the ABNG program, which was performed for the French Ministry of Defense, where we converted an entire aircraft from civil passenger aircraft into a military flying testbed with exterior and interior modifications. Subsequently, I moved on to the NH90 program, which is a program ran together by 4 European countries. We've designed, built, and maintained continued airworthiness for this helicopter together with the 4 countries. From there, I moved back to Fokker Services as well in my role as business developer, and I've learned along the way how to be an integrator on aircraft level. So working on aircraft completions, working on aircraft modifications, it's very nice to do this, and it really helps me in my role as a business developer. So if you would see on this next slide is a brief introduction for the activities that we do within Fokker Services, like exchange programs, component MROs, parts availability, defense, aircraft maintenance, repair and overhaul. And I'm mostly in the corner of aircraft modifications and engineering services. So what we do in the modifications is we supply our customers with beneficial effects on operations, but also on mandates for avionics. So we have a wide range of STCs for avionics, which is not only related to Fokker aircraft, but for the majority today of non-Fokker aircraft like Boeing, Airbus, CRJ, Embraer. Next to that, we do general innovations like cabin interiors, LED interior lighting, but also like electronic flight book holders in the cockpit. Next to that, we are today working on our COVID packs to cargo. And if you would like, I would like you to invite you to visit our brand new website, foxservices.com, and have a look at our modstore.aero, where all the STCs that we present today can be found. So I'm looking very much forward to our discussion today, Nicole, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeroen. Thank you so much for being here with us. I think, again, this will add an interesting standpoint, not only from the aircraft modifier's perspective, but also from the perspective of a TC holder. Let us now go on with Henning. May I ask you to introduce yourself as well?
I try to. So, hello, everybody. Thank you, Nicole, for introduction. My name is Henning Jochmann, and I'm the responsible senior director for aircraft modification. That means I'm responsible for all the commercial modification we do at Lufthansa Technik, located in Hamburg. And I think everybody is well known Lufthansa Technik, and I want to highlight one figure. If you see that we over 5,000 aircraft under exclusive contract, that means nothing less that we nearly every third aircraft is maintained by us. So lots of experience, lots of know-how there. And if it comes to the next slide, I can tell you a little bit about my department and what we do in my department. Like I said, we are responsible for the commercial modification. We do it in different aspects. We do it in the cabin modification, connectivity modification, of course, cockpit modification, and I'm very proud about it. We have the CAMO of LHT that is in my department, and we can do lots of things with the help of the CAMO if it comes to modification. What we are also very proud of is that we are responsible for over 700 STCs worldwide at nearly 18 authorities worldwide. So you see lots of things we have to take care about, and that's one reason why I'm very happy that I'm here today and can talk about modification, because we live modification here, and I'm really looking forward to go to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Henning. And indeed, we're proud that you joined us here today. It's some impressive figures also from the MRO side. Last but not least, Shawanta, may I ask you to introduce yourself as well?
Thank you, Nicole. So I'm Shawanta Veerasekara. I'm the head of engineering at Etihad Engineering. We are a MRO plus a design organization. So I head the technical services team as well as a design organization within the MRO organization. I've got 15 plus years of maintenance experience. I've been in CAMO, I've been in airworthiness, I've done a fair amount of design work. At the moment, we are predominantly supporting the MRO operations with technical services, and we have a design organization that runs a couple of STCs on the side. I am also a contributor to a couple of EASA rulemaking committees, and I also work with SAE on some publications. Who is Etihad Airways Engineering? Well, we are part of the Etihad Aviation Group. We are based in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE. We do heavy maintenance, aircraft painting, repairs, modifications, and that's where the STCs and the cabin activity comes in. We have fair capabilities in component maintenance, supply chain, and of course the engineering team that supports all the activities above. We've got about 200,000 square meters of apron and hangar space. We simultaneously run about 18 lines of maintenance, which includes 3 A380 bays. We've got Boeing and Airbus capability, so I would direct you to our website in case you need to get in touch with any of us. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'm available on LinkedIn and through the IMR contacts. Over to you, Nicole.
Thank you, Shawanta. Again, very proud to have you here, a significant player in the Middle East in modification as well as MRO. So I think this is a pretty nice panel to indeed shed some light on how retrofit modification can support airlines those times. Let us start maybe with the current situation. So when I look into the current situation, what I see and what we all see, obviously, is that there is airlines grounding their fleets, that there is currently very much uncertainty on the passenger side, also on the airline side, about the standards which might come up or not, which is not yet worldwide introduced. We also see popping up already solutions kind of for the regulation, for the regulators from the regulator side, as well as from the recommendation side. So Chris, may I start with you from the IATA perspective? What do airlines really need most those days?
Yes, thank you so much, Nicole. What we have been finding out is that there was, as you mentioned, there was a massive ground of fleet in just a few days. I think in around the end of April, we had about over 65%, 2/3 of the fleet was grounded. Right now, there are aircraft coming back, but still the utilization is very low of those aircraft that they're coming back. So airlines came down really hard. It came down really hard to them. They started looking for what they have to do. There were many tasks in the AMM that they had to work with and the MPD if some of those can be escalated. So they have been working extensively with the OEMs and through us, and also with the regulators on trying to alleviate some of the issues that have been arising in these cases. So working through us, we're trying to harmonize some of those requirements, let's say, and also bring them equally in front of various authorities worldwide. As we all know, the world is there is the ICAO that pretty much keeps the world regulations, and then under ICAO we have some major regulators that they keep up with the various activities, regulatory activities. So airlines are looking for some harmonization. We had to go and start asking for extension of licenses for mechanics, certificates for MROs that may have expired in this time, and because of travel bans, quarantines, and other issues, people were not able to go and do a physical audit. Remote inspections suddenly became up in the front, although we have been advocating for them for a number of time. So airlines are looking for some kind of worldwide guidance, harmonization in these topics. We are looking of a clear understanding in cases of conversions from passenger to cargo. There's a lot of lack of awareness, if you allow me to say. In many parts of the world, they are not even sure how they can approach that issue. In some other parts, they have been extremely efficient. Within a few weeks, they managed to get through STCs, service bulletins with the OEMs, they managed to get these conversions to carry passengers, either to carry cargo, in the cabin, either on the seats or by removing the seats. But there is no uniform approach to this. So we're working to develop guidance in the ICAO side. You will find something called CARD and the take-off guidance for the industry. I encourage you to look at that and the CARD report. Also encourage you to look at the IATA website that we have a lot of guidance with respect to airworthiness and to cabin cleanliness, how do you cleaning and disinfection, and also to modifications. We worked even before this happened, along with our colleagues from Tronos, to develop some guidance material for modifications, and we got input also from IAMA, which we're going to include in a second edition of that document, and ICAO is also going to adapt this as part of the airworthiness panel work. So there is quite some work that has been done, and still a lot of it needs to be done with respect to awareness and harmonization and collaboration between OEMs, regulators, and airlines.
Thank you, Chris. That's some interesting points indeed on all the regulations and recommendations, and of course the standardization you were doing there in the background. Jeff, you're pretty much in the interface, doing CAMO services, doing consulting for the airlines. How do you say when it comes to modify the aircraft to the new conditions? So what's your highlights?
Well, thanks, Nicole. You know, to Chris's point, there's a number of different challenges that airlines are facing, and a lot of it is based on travel restrictions and where an airline is currently placed and how they operate. You have specific regions like Singapore or UAE where they're really relying on international travel, and with restrictions and guidelines not allowing them to move from country to country, they've effectively in order to generate some revenue, have been looking at ways and creative ways to transport cargo, and those have been working with OEMs to have interim solutions to remove seats and fly cargo in main cabin, and even flying cargo in cabins with seats remaining. And then you have regions where domestic travel is still allowed and it's still somewhat active, and we're seeing some trends going up, and the focus in those areas have been, by the airlines mainly, have been advertising cabin cleanliness and a safe environment for people to feel comfortable to want to be able to fly again. But again, with travel restrictions quite broadly still in place throughout the world, it's a challenge in moving aircraft around. So we're still seeing, quite low frequency, and starting to see some reports on load factors. We know some interesting things that are taking place with airlines that are blocking out middle seats, and sort of some interim things. But again, as Chris pointed out, without having really any regulatory guidance in place, airlines are kind of adapting their own sort of solutions, their advertising, even measures that they've already had in place as far as cleanliness is concerned, but trying to do what they can to instill confidence in passengers that they're offering a clean and safe environment, both for the passenger and for crew.
Here, thank you, Jeff. Indeed, you raised a couple of topics from disinfection, from social distancing, passenger to flight. Shimanta, it looked like you wanted to add something.
Yes, Nicole. I mean, I picked up on a word Jeff mentioned, the confidence of the passenger. So immediately after the grounding of fleets, the airlines started looking towards the local regulators, towards IATA, towards ICAO, towards EASA and FAA for guidance on what to do and how to come out of this. But it was a bit of a delayed response from the whole community to actually ask passengers what they would want to see on the aircraft, what would give them the level of confidence. Because in the past, when we would design a cabin as a new cabin product, a new first class or a new premium class cabin, airlines would spend a lot of time and efforts and money as well to bring focus groups into mock-ups, into discussion forums, brainstorming sessions, to get a feeling of what passengers and different segments of the traveling public would want from a new cabin. Now, that same exercise is required for the post-COVID aviation world as well, where a feeling of what the passenger wants would help us modifiers develop new products, to innovate, and to actually get those products on the aircraft. Because everybody rushing to do, to block the middle seats and to put these separators around everybody's heads might actually be a short-run solution, because passengers might start asking for something different, which could be simple as just give me an assurance of a clean, sanitized cabin.
Thank you, Shimanta. Interesting point, indeed. So may I present to Henning. Henning, working for Lufthansa Technik, and Lufthansa Technik being part of a large group, including airlines. How did you guys take on the challenge on COVID-19 when it comes to retrofit modifications?
Yeah, that's a master question, to be honest. So the first question that we had at the starting point of the crisis was, do we need modification? So is in these times, like mentioned, nobody will come to anybody to make a cabin nicer, to make something newer, like the big cabin modification we did in the past. So there's definitely not a market for such things. But we try to think about passenger experience in a new way. So what is passenger experience in these days here? The passenger experience is not a connectivity system or a nice cabin, something like this. The passenger experience in these days are definitely how can we make the people confident to fly again? And how can we help, of course, our own airlines, but also our customer airlines to bring this confidence back to the passengers. And lots of products are now in realization to help to get exactly that confidence back to the people, that they are able to travel, that they try to travel, and that they are allowed to travel. Because I'm pretty sure that there will be restriction for the next months for sure. And I also believe that there will be lots of restrictions for next years and maybe forever, because we have to think about this crisis, but we have to think about further crises. I think everybody will know that this will happen once again, and maybe we are better prepared for doing such things. But we come from the point that we have to bring passenger experience in a complete different context and to offer a product that help anybody to bring the aircrafts back in the air to travel.
Well, thank you, Henning. It's good to know that Lufthansa Technik decided there to go into development, and of course it's probably not only guessing of what the passenger needs for getting back confidence. Like you, Shawanta, said, it would be great to have also some larger surveys on that. What does the passenger really wants? But in the meantime, actually the airlines need to make revenue, and what we do and what all the modifiers, or many modifiers, do at the moment, and also that was mentioned by Chris and Jeff, is turning passenger aircraft into freighters, not for a long-term solution, but with very different concepts. I know, Jerome, that also Fokker Services is offering a solution. So how did you decide what to offer there, and what is your take on that, passenger to freighter?
Yes, thank you very, very much, Nicole. Thank you all the others as well, because I can really join in the vision that you have. So when we started in the phase of COVID, I definitely noticed there was a paralyzing effect on most airlines. There was a shock, and most were too paralyzed to react in the first place. So for me, like, the look at this COVID period gave me another dimension of what safety means for passengers. So we are very driven in the aviation industry about aircraft and system safety. This is what drives us and what we have to comply to in aircraft regulations. But from the passenger's perspective, I would say this has added a different layer, or a new layer, where first passengers were very dealing with how safe is an aircraft. Today they are really looking at how safe is it from a health perspective. So I think you need a very holistic view here to see how things are changing towards the future. So we have a vision of about the short-term vision and the long-term vision here. I think for short-term vision is you really need to get close to your customers and really make an inventory of what their direct needs are for this period. So you have to think along with them and to see what kind of solutions you can offer in order to restore revenue as much as possible. For instance, what we have come up with is the PAX to Cargo solution, where we offer our customers to remove the seats from the aircraft and to install cargo on the existing seat tracks for the time that EASA allows it to be in this intermittent period. And I think this is a really proactive way of creating a way, a means for airlines to get some revenue, although they cannot transport passengers at the same time. Fokker Services has this heritage of supplying these kinds of modifications for our own existing fleet, for which we still have a type certificate holdership, and we can swiftly act in these kinds of solutions. But in the past 5, 6, 7 years, we have transformed our business from mainly Fokker aircraft support into mainly non-Fokker related activities. So we can supply all kinds of modifications and new solutions for other aircrafts as well, Airbus, Boeing, CRJ, Embraer. So for the short-term solutions, we came up with the PAX to Cargo solution. And I think for the long term, it's very important to have a close look at the developments of the markets. So we are all aware is that the market is changing day by day. And I could almost conclude that the sessions and the discussions we're having today may be a different one tomorrow. But so it's very important to see what the developments are. And I noticed in the past that, well, there was a paralyzing effect in the start, and every country had their own government, had their own health organizations, their airlines, their airports, and there was no main stakeholder here that had a final say that flying was prohibited, that we could not fly anymore. So if we learn from the past, we could also see that we need a joint effort here in the industry, but also the external factors of how media looks at it and how passenger experiences is with respect to health and safety, that we need a joint approach to find our way back in filling up the aircraft again.
Well, thank you, Jerome. That's some great keywords actually on the short term and on the long term, and obviously also on the joint approach. That is something what we always advocate from the IAMR side as well. Shawanta, do you want to add something?
Yes, Nicole. Just like Focus Services, Etihad Engineering also jumped immediately on the projects. We used our design organization to develop all three options that were being offered under the guidelines available to us. So to carry cargo on seats, to use seat bags, and then to remove the seats and tie down, or a pallet solution as well. And we actually have STCs currently submitted to EASA for the tie down and the pallet solution. And we've got the cargo on seat solution with our local authority. And this is working for us at the moment. And having a POA and a 145 organization together with a camo means you could react fast and get these products out to market, to your parent airline and to all the other captive customers that you have. That's done and dusted. And now we are looking at the medium to long term. Is there a solid business case for the airline and for the design organizations to actually push through with these modifications in the long run? Because we all understand that there was a bubble last month, or maybe in April and May, there was a bubble for cargo, and there was a immediate need for medical supplies, for dry rations to be moved from one place to another. But as the societies adjust and as the world sort of comes back to a level of normalcy, this sudden demand will reduce. And also, if there is a surge of airlines converting to cargo and carrying cargo on the top deck, the general price of cargo and air freight will drop, which means everybody works their way out of the market. So there is a sense of caution as well when we rush into converting aircraft. And at the moment, from my personal perspective, cargo on seats or cargo on seat bags look like a viable option for an airline, especially for airlines who have wide-body aircrafts, which is very prevalent in the Middle East. We've got ultra-long-haul to long-haul aircraft in high abundance in the Middle East, and those aircraft could carry easily 15+ tons in their belly hold, and cargo on seats would give them extra ton or two, up to maybe about 2 tons extra, which is a good route to operate, and it gives you good route finances.
Thank you, Shawanta. I think you also actually that passenger to cargo modifications in very different ways, like following also the IATA recommendations within that is one of the benefits aircraft retrofit modifications by STC or by SB can bring. But as you also mentioned, and as I understand, this is of course hopefully a short-term solution. On the long run, we will have to dig deeper into how disinfection methods are recommended. Is there worldwide standards coming for the health of crew and passenger on board? So that massively will also drive the need for retrofits in the existing fleet. Jeff, what's your take on that? When you look into the future, midterm future in modifications coming up there from all over the world and from all over modifiers. So what do you see there?
Well, quite frankly, I think right now it's to be determined. I think globally, most people aren't aware of the existing filtration systems in aircraft. The HEPA filter in modern aircraft recycles the air and purifies it every 2 minutes. So the challenge becomes the economics that were built in aerospace today. As we know, you really have to manage about an 85% load factor. So it's pretty much changed to a dense cabin generates revenue in flying 85% or greater load factors. So when you start looking at cabin cleanliness and you throw in potentially social distancing, which is, I think, an interim solution right now, where you have airlines that are blocking middle seats. There's a number of different concepts out with barriers around seats and things like that. We're not aware of anybody who's started incorporating any sort of barriers around seats. But the blocking of middle seats has been extended. First it was it kind of settled in through the end of May, and now it's been extended out to September for some airlines. But I think everybody's kind of just waiting to see if there are any mandates regarding social distancing in cabin, some of these solutions on top of the current systems, air purification systems within the aircraft, if there's any others that prove to be viable, that makes sense to incorporate from a timeliness, from an economic position. I think we've seen some studies where if we want to try to support social distancing in cabin, probably talking about a 40 to 50% increase on basic ticket pricing from what we've been used to. Are people willing to do that? And then it also comes down to aircraft type. There are some aircraft configurations that you can't block a middle seat because it's a 2-2 configuration. So do you just run 50% of the cabin? There's so many different economics that play into it, but I think, again, it all comes down to potential regulations, and it comes down to passengers' responsiveness once borders open, once there's things to fly, and you feel safe in order, to get you on an airplane and you actually have somewhere to go to and to visit, whether it's visiting family or going on holidays. Obviously we're coming up to the peak of what normally is summer travel, and we're seeing that borders are supposed to open up in Europe potentially next week. So we'll be monitoring traffic and routing and load factors and seeing what the response for people is. And I think widely, as we've seen throughout our careers, airlines will be responsive to demand. And, again, barring regulation and mandates, they're just going to play it out as how the demand goes and what they can financially tolerate.
Okay, thank you. So for me, what comes out there is, first of all, whatever the industry and whatever the STC and modification suppliers bring up, it first of all needs to be flexible and affordable, for sure, because there's less cash at the moment with the airlines. Another hint would be, you said there is studies out, right, on products, on how to ensure social distancing, maybe even without blocking a seat. All those design studies at a certain point need to be certifiable. So may I ask Lufthansa Technik, so Henning, you said you hold 700 STC, so there is quite often experience Lufthansa Technik has with certifying solutions. So how do you take on that balance to develop an affordable, flexible solution, which is of course still safe and certifiable?
Yeah. I think the packs to cargo thing. Let me talk about a little bit deeper about this, because everybody's talking about packs to cargo, and we all know that at the moment we are working on the exemption of the EASA rules. So we do something that it's normally not allowed. So in the normal life, if you remove seats from an aircraft, this is a major change, and then you are in an STC modification. What we do at the moment, we use exemptions for such crises to do so, to transport medical equipment or necessary food or necessary cargo. So that's nothing you can do for the next years. But what you can really think about is, somebody mentioned 65% of the world fleet was grounding. So 65% of the normal belly cargo capacity is not there at the moment. And if you look on the different scenarios for the next 3-4 years, everybody's talking about when we will have the same level of aircraft in the air, and therefore the same belly capacity back to use it for cargo, because I think nearly 50% of normal cargo are transported by the bellies. And so you see that there is a need for the next 3-4 years to develop or to offer additional cargo space. That's why we decided to go over the exemption for 2 reasons: to certify the packs to cargo conversion with the help of an STC. We're still waiting for the EASA guidelines here, as everybody is waiting for such guidelines, but we see a market for this. And that's, I think for sure, what we have to do for all the other products. If it comes to disinfection, if it comes to separate seats with the help of a plastic wall, I don't know, to make social distance happen. We have to think about a short-term solution that helps us during the crisis, like the exemption for packs to cargo, like something disinfection you do very, very quick. And we have to think about a product that is need to certify, need to go the the whole certification way to be available post-crisis, post the Corona crisis. And I think there will be a market for additional cargo space, and I'm pretty sure that we also need something like a disinfection modification for the cabin post Corona crisis. So the flexibility we are talking about is very important, and I'm pretty sure that we will see lots of at the moment necessary modifications. So normally we, from time to time, like I said, we do unnecessary modification. It comes to a nicer cabin, for example. So nothing you really need to fly an aircraft. But at the moment, we're coming from the unnecessary modification to the necessary modifications, and I'm pretty sure that we will see lots of these necessary modification for a long time in the aircrafts.
Yeah, thank you, Henning. So, and thank you again for showing to the audience that passenger to cargo, long-term, short-term, that there is certainly a need for modifications in whichever way those are then certified. May I again hand over to you, Shawanta, because Etihad and Etihad Engineering is pretty much known actually for exclusive cabins as well. So what's your take on there when it comes to cabin, when it comes to cabin modifications, disinfection, etc., also from an aesthetic standpoint?
Yes, Nicole. So just like Henning, we wear the airline hat as well as the modifier hat and the maintenance hat. So we are very thoughtful when we bring new products out onto the aircraft, because it has to be good and exclusive for the passenger, but it also should be cost effective to maintain in the long run. Now, we are working just like everybody else. We are following the industry trends as well, and we are trying to innovate by ourselves. So over the last few weeks, through IMR, through all other social media channels, we've heard of people talking about UV light-based sanitation, and middle seat blockers, the rear-facing seats. We've seen it, we've discussed it. We have been working on UV lights way before COVID, and we've pulled out all the past test data and engaged with our suppliers once again. But there are also areas that haven't been explored, that we haven't seen much traction in the industry, and that's what the cabin crew is going to do. What's the crew rest compartment going to look like in the future? What's the number of crew who could work around the galley? Is there going to be any restrictions there, right? And if there's a restriction on crew in the galley space, will it affect the meal service? Is the meal service going to be different? Are we going to have a bread basket open like we had before, or is it going to be packaged food or frozen food now? So Etihad Engineering is working with the suppliers, working with the industry to see how best we could innovate and we could certify these innovations. Some of them are very innovative ideas, but they're somewhat far out, and there are some challenges to certify it. That's what we are there for. That's part and parcel of our business. So what we can certify, we will bring it forward into the industry. We will bring it into fruition while exploring all possible opportunities to get products out there.
Okay, great. And we're, again, pretty good keywords there for how modifications can help the airlines. In this case, coming back to the service and coming back to the in-flight service about assisting the crew. Everyone is talking about the passenger, but indeed, you're right. We should also have the crews in mind and provide solutions to make their life easier and as easier as possible and as safe as possible to work on board. So, Chris, when you hear all that, so from any other perspective, what would you like to add, actually, and give our modifiers in the panel here on their way?
Yes, for sure. I think you are very close to the operators, so you need to consider what are their what they are thinking about. They are approached by a good number of people with having all these innovations, and these innovations are very good. They may apply under certain circumstances, and that's how they got along with them. But some of them, as a major OEM told us, they may do more harm than good to the aircraft. So we need to be very thoughtful on how we use them. First of all, the airline, maybe with the help of you, if of the modifiers, because some airlines don't have the internal capability to do some rigorous analysis on what needs to be done. And then the next step is consult with the OEM. This is basic, because some of the material in the cabin may be plastics that they may be, when they are exposed to UV radiation, they may get aged significantly faster than others. You don't want a cabin that it doesn't look nice next time you get into the airplane. So various cleaning agents that they have been proposed, they may be good in some other areas, but who knows when you apply them on a cockpit. So and the screens. So and what would be the application method of all these new innovative proposed ideas that are out there. So I encourage you to work with them and collaborate with them under the ICAO umbrella with the ICCAIA, the Manufacturers Association. We're working closely, and they are doing a tremendous job in speeding up, accelerating all these methods in order to provide back to the operators with some guidance. And at the end of the day, they have to be, some of them, I'm not talking about each and every method, but you may need to consult with your health providers, also with the health regulations and the airworthiness regulations in that area. Also, I would like to point out as a think also about the environment and sustainability. It will come again back to us in the future. Right now, nobody can accuse us. The emissions are pretty much down to almost to zero as the flight activity has almost stopped. And encourage more of a collaboration through the agencies, the various agencies that are out there, the operators, manufacturers, yourselves as modifiers, MROs, because we need that to move forward. Just as a note, we have a draft about cleaning and disinfecting of the aircraft, including cabin, cockpit, and the cargo area. I encourage you to take a look and please provide us with any comments that we have. Also with other guidance material that we have out there, because we are revising those almost on a weekly basis, to be honest with you.
Well, thank you, Chris. That actually gives me personally, as a part of the IAMR, the Independent Aircraft Modifier Alliance, some keywords to indeed look into and to accelerate collaboration with the OEMs. But as we do have still some time left, that was a very good point you mentioned, just Chris, is how to include the OEMs. And I think we do have OEMs with us in the one or the other direction. So we have a TC holder here with Fokker Services, but we also have all of Lufthansa Technik, also Idiot Engineering being a production organizations. So what is actually the measures you take, and maybe start with Jerome, when it comes to test new methodologies on your aircraft, in this case the Fokker aircraft, but from your perspective as a TC holder, can you say something to that?
Yes, of course. So for me, I think that the way of safe traveling for passengers is not just related to being in the aircraft, because there's an entire journey where the passenger starts at home and he travels to the airport, and the first thing he has to do is a screening on himself. So there's a huge responsibility for the passenger himself, herself. And as soon as he enters the airport, then you see that there will be all kinds of checks today. So I've seen some news from AirAsia, and the same is going to happen at Schiphol, and that people will be scanned by temperature, by questionnaires. So there's 1, 2, or 3 even checks before people will go to the gate. And even there on the airport, there will be a lot of social distancing. So the screening and the social distancing, in addition to the cleaning requirements that airlines have today, with the guidelines from IATA or EASA, I think the risk is very much minimized that people that have been infected by COVID or similar diseases is very low. So that together, so we have the guidelines and we have the intermediate solutions like the pucks to cargo. And in addition to that, we're very depending on what happens day to day. So there's a lot of more research today on the effects of COVID. So can someone without any health issues, can he be contagious to other people? Our governments working together, so our regional airlines starting up again, because now in South America, there's an outbreak of COVID. So we cannot go there, but we can, in the meantime, we can fly around in Europe. So I think our solutions really go down to the services that we can provide, the short-term solutions, and then we have a vision about how the world looks like post-COVID and in future sanitation.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, and I think with our OEM history and the DOA that we have, we can really quickly come up with solutions that really help in especially restoring this passenger confidence. But that's what it comes down to then at that point, where people have entered the aircraft, but they have been screened already for a lot of times, and they travel to countries which have a relative low risk of being affected by COVID.
Yeah, thank you, Jerome, for that view. Indeed, it adds the whole journey. And we are always talking here about the in-flight and how retrofit modifications can assist the airlines. But indeed, it's the whole journey which we need to look at. Still, I'd like to hand over to Henning again, maybe a last or close to last question there. What Chris mentioned, that of course the airlines are here and they're a bit suspicious about the new methodologies to disinfect, to put on UV light, and to put on new chemicals for disinfection just to restore confidence, but on the other side, not knowing what that might affect on the cabin equipment. So I know that Lufthansa Technik also has some products in place and is working closely with its own product organization, but also others. So how do you actually test the methodologies you like to introduce?
First of all, before I talk about the products that we have at the moment in our testing campaign and how we make sure that we don't destroy any cabin furniture, by the way, let me add something we have to talk about if it comes to modification in the time of coronavirus. I think we have talked about cabin crews, we have talked about our passengers, about the airlines and so on. We forgot a little bit that most of the airlines need help by the governments with big rescue campaigns. There's lots of money, so nearly every big airline is rescued in any way by the governments. And there are lots of governments coming with calls, with lots of new restrictions if it comes, for example, to environment protection. And we have to help to find answers on these new restrictions, like if it comes to carbon dioxide, to reduce these carbon dioxide, to do something for the environment protection. And this is, of course, something that we also do at Lufthansa Technik at the moment, because we were able to develop, for example, a shark skin foil that is able to put on the aircraft to reduce drag and therefore to save fuel and therefore to reduce the carbon dioxide. But at the end of the day, we have also keep in mind that we have to help the airlines in the way of how we can fulfill the government restrictions that are coming up at lots of governments at the moment. That's also what we do at the moment. And like I said, all the other products we are developed right now are available. So if it comes to disinfection, there is a product from us out there. If it comes to separation, that you can install a plexiglass wall to use all the seats and don't be able to wear a mask on a long haul, on a long flight, and so on and so on. So there are lots of protection out there, but I want to highlight that we also have restrictions that are now moving faster than it was before. We all talked about environment protection before Corona crisis, but like lots of the other things, things are coming very much faster at the moment, driven by this crisis. So that's another point I wanted to highlight here.
Okay, thank you, Henning. That indeed gives a very new perspective here, taking up on the environmental issue Chris mentioned. And thank you for giving us also the hint on that foil you developed. So I'm not aware of that product, but I'm sure we will find it somewhere. That sounds interesting, and it shows the broad range how retrofit modifications, so modifications on aircraft which are meant to be in service, can really help airlines to gain revenue those days, to ensure passenger confidence again, and to also be aware of the sustainability of solutions. I think the whole panel also showed that there's a lot to do also for the modifiers in the responsibilities of the modifiers to come up with affordable and certifiable solutions. Again, thank you, Shawanta, of mentioning the maintainability of solutions. Of course, that's also something we have to keep in mind. I think that really got us a good range of what modifications are capable of and what is doable by mods, minor or major. Let me pick up, last but not least, the first words also from Chris. I think what you said, we do not have international standards, but we go for. So even that is something what we, as the modifiers, need to present. There is the transferability of modifications and the applicability with the different regulations worldwide, which is a challenge, I can tell. So thank you very much for the whole discussion. Thank you for being part of it, for giving insights. Is there anyone who wants to say some final words to our audience here? Anything what pops your mind still and said, okay, this is I need to add? Shawanta, was that raised hand?
Just to wrap up, Nicole. Before COVID, the OEMs and the modifiers were kind of pitching for the same aftermarket. But now, with the need for so much of product testing for nano coating, effects of UV light and all that, the only way that we can get moving is to work together. And IAMA is a perfect platform where if testing is done in partnership with an OEM and one modifier, and if the other modifiers get access to that same data, the whole industry would move forward much faster, and the industry would actually help the aviation community. So I think there's a lot of scope for IAMA and for any other industry groups of that nature to really make a difference during this time.
Thank you, Shawanta. Thank you for that call. I think that is really it, and we are in this together. Let's approach that together. So, Jeff, that was a raised hand. I saw that.
Yes. I think one of the things that we'll also anticipate is changes in cabin design. I think we're going to continue to see evolution of touchless solutions as well as clean surfaces, and probably a transition to more light colors, again, so that people see that the cabin is clean. There's a lot of, today we have a lot of different pockets and cubby holes where things can hide and you don't want to stick your hands, and I think we'll continue to see transitions to clean surfaces, lighter colors, and antimicrobial properties within surfaces. I know OEMs are working on those solutions now, whether it's in plastics or textiles, the soft materials that we see in cabins, but everything that a passenger or crew is exposed to, we'll start seeing more integration and design enhancements leading towards that direction.
Yeah, thank you for that. Is there anyone else?
Yes, I would really agree with Jeff and Shawanta. Let me add to cabin interiors with lighting, for example, soft things for passengers in their appeal. We're working as well on the cabin scenting, which gives another dimension of experience to customers, which can also work as a relief and restoring confidence. And I agree that we should work together in bringing this back and keep aircraft and air passenger transportation in a forward way, definitely. Thank you very much, Nicole.
Sure, thank you for being here, and thank you actually for encouraging the idea of IAMA so much here. So because that is what we originally had in our minds when we founded that association. So I can't see you, Chris. Anything you want to add, Chris?
No, I would like to, nothing much. I think it was a very good discussion with all of you. I look forward to a further collaboration. As you are aware, we got your input about the cabin refurbishments, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Soon, hopefully, we will have the ICAO document to support the work with respect to the regulators, to the civil aviation authorities around the world. So I am just really excited working with you guys, and I'm looking forward to further collaboration. It's a very good topic, and shows that working together we can achieve a lot, because we can bring some from the airline experiences and consolidate them, and you can work from the MRO, the modifier side, consolidate that approach and try to find a good common ground, so the understanding and awareness is significantly better between the two parts of the industry, the two communities, that they need each other to survive and thrive in the future.
Thank you, Chris. So indeed, thank you for that. So, Chris, that is what we really believe in, that it indeed needs a team to win the race, and that it needs really every stakeholder of the aftermarket to work together, especially in a crisis like COVID-19. So thank you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to my audience and to our audience here for listening to us for that hour. All of us can be found on LinkedIn, so don't hesitate to contact any one of the panelists or myself if you have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Bye-bye.